Story 1. The Haunting Echoes of Rain. On a desolate rainy day in the small town of Hollowbrook, the skies were ashen gray, and the relentless downpour seemed like tears from the heavens. The townsfolk often whispered that Hollowbrook had an eerie aura on rainy days, as if the heavens themselves mourned some ancient tragedy. They were right. In the heart of Hollowbrook stood a decaying mansion known as Blackwood Manor. Its ominous facade was like a sentinel guarding the town's darkest secrets. The manor had been abandoned for decades, shrouded in sinister legends of murder and madness. It was said that once the rain began to fall, the old mansion awakened. The legend of Blackwood Manor began with the enigmatic disappearance of the Sinclair family in 1932. The family's patriarch, Arthur Sinclair, was a reclusive inventor known for dabbling in forbidden sciences. Whispers suggested he sought to unlock the secrets of immortality. His wife, Eleanor, was a talented pianist, and their daughter, Abigail, had an uncanny gift for painting. One stormy night, as the rain pounded the mansion's windows, the townsfolk heard a haunting symphony echoing through the hollow streets. It was the eerie notes of Eleanor's piano, long thought silenced by time. When they ventured to the mansion, they found the piano playing itself in the grand parlor, and the walls adorned with grotesque paintings depicting nightmarish visions. The Sinclair family was never seen again, and Blackwood Manor became a place of dread. Locals spoke of phantom footsteps echoing down the grand staircase and mournful whispers in the dead of night. On rainy days, the mansion seemed to pulse with malevolence. One fateful afternoon, Sarah, a curious journalist with an obsession for the macabre, arrived in Hollowbrook. Armed with tales of the cursed mansion, she was determined to unravel its mysteries. The rain had intensified, but it only fueled her determination. Entering the manor, Sarah felt a chill that transcended the physical. Her footsteps on the creaking floorboards echoed like a funeral dirge. She explored room after room, encountering spectral apparitions and whispered secrets that sent shivers down her spine. In the grand parlor, she discovered an old diary belonging to Abigail Sinclair, detailing her father's experiments and her mother's descent into madness. Abigail believed her family's souls were bound to the mansion, trapped in a haunting symphony of sorrow and despair. As Sarah read the final entry, the room filled with the mournful notes of a piano. The diary slipped from her trembling hands, and she followed the eerie music to a hidden chamber below. There, she found a grotesque laboratory where Arthur had experimented on the nature of life and death. Suddenly, the rain outside intensified, and the mansion seemed to shake with anger. The apparitions converged, their eyes filled with longing. They whispered to Sarah, pleading for release from their torment. With a desperate resolve, Sarah found a way to complete Arthur's forbidden experiment. The mansion quaked as she did so, and the ghostly family members faded away with tearful smiles, their suffering finally ending. The rain outside ceased, and Blackwood Manor stood silent, its curse lifted. Sarah left the mansion forever changed, bearing the weight of the Sinclair family's tragic legacy. She had witnessed the horror that lurked within the rainy days of Hollowbrook and survived, but the haunting echoes of rain would forever haunt her dreams. Story 2. The Weeping Willow Inn. In the remote countryside, nestled between rolling hills and thick woods, lay the Weeping Willow Inn. It was a charming, albeit aged, establishment known for its peculiar reputation on rainy days. Locals whispered tales of the inn being haunted, and the stories always seemed to intensify when the heavens opened up one rainy evening, as thunder rumbled and lightning painted jagged streaks across the sky. A weary traveler named Victor sought refuge at the Weeping Willow Inn. Victor was a stoic man, but even he felt a shiver crawl up his spine as he entered the dimly lit lobby. Rainwater dripped from his coat as he approached the front desk. Behind the counter stood a frail woman named Agnes. Her silver hair hung in disarray, and her eyes held a distant, haunted look. She welcomed Victor with a melancholic smile, handing him a tarnished brass key and saying, "Room 13, dear guest." The hallways were dimly lit, adorned with vintage paintings that seemed to watch Victor's every move. As he ascended the creaking stairs to his room, the wind outside howled like a mournful specter. He couldn't shake the feeling that he was being watched. Inside room 13, the air was icy cold, and the wallpaper bore a faded pattern of weeping willows. Victor dismissed it as mere coincidence and settled in for the night. But as the rain intensified, strange sounds echoed through the inn, whispers in the walls, soft sobbing, and the faint, ghostly notes of a piano. Unable to ignore his growing unease, Victor ventured downstairs to find Agnes, who was now absent from the front desk. He followed the eerie sounds of the piano to a forgotten parlor at the end of a long, dark corridor. There, he discovered Agnes seated at the piano, her bony fingers dancing over the keys with ethereal grace. Her eyes were vacant, and her playing seemed to summon the spirits of long-forgotten guests. They materialized as shadowy figures, their faces etched in sorrow. Victor gasped, but Agnes paid him no mind. He realized that the inn was a haven for lost souls, and on rainy days, they found solace in the melancholic music that echoed through the halls. These were the souls of travelers who had met untimely ends on stormy nights, their spirits forever bound to the Weeping Willow Inn. As Victor watched in horror, the spirits beckoned him to join their spectral dance. Desperate to escape, he fled the parlor and returned to his room. He knew he had to leave, but the storm outside raged with fury, trapping him within the inn's cursed walls. Hours passed, and Victor huddled in the darkness, haunted by the mournful sounds that permeated the inn. The storm finally subsided, and the first light of dawn crept through his window. With the rising sun, the spirits retreated, leaving Victor shaken but alive. He gathered his belongings and fled the Weeping Willow Inn, vowing never to return. As he looked back one last time, he saw Agnes at the window, her tearful eyes bidding him farewell. The inn, it seemed, was a place where the living and the dead intersected on rainy days, and its melancholic charm hid a dark secret that Victor would carry with him for the rest of his days. Story 3. The Drowned Village. In the remote, rain-soaked valley of Eldridge, there stood a village forgotten by time. Eldridge had once thrived, its quaint cottages and cobblestone streets a testament to a bygone era. But on rainy days, the village transformed into something far more sinister. The tale of Eldridge's curse began centuries ago, when a torrential downpour flooded the valley, drowning the villagers in their sleep. It was said that the vengeful spirits of the deceased haunted the valley, waiting for the rains to return and claim more souls. On a particularly dreary afternoon, Emily, a historian with an insatiable curiosity, arrived in Eldridge to uncover the truth behind its dark history. She had heard whispers of the village from the locals and was drawn to its enigmatic past. The rain poured relentlessly as she ventured into the valley. The dilapidated cottages stood like spectral sentinels, their thatched roofs sagging under the weight of the years. Emily's footsteps echoed eerily as she explored the deserted streets, feeling the weight of countless eyes upon her. She knew she was not alone. As the rain intensified, Emily discovered an ancient journal hidden within the decaying ruins of a cottage. Its pages were filled with the desperate writings of a villager named Samuel, who chronicled the night of the flood. Samuel believed that the spirits of Eldridge sought vengeance on the living, and their wrath was most potent during the rain. Emily's curiosity got the better of her, and she continued to delve deeper into the village's history. Night fell, and the rain showed no signs of abating. As she wandered, she heard ghostly whispers, cries of anguish, and the mournful wailing of a phantom wind. In the center of the village lay an old, overgrown well, its stone walls slick with rainwater. It was said that this well held the key to the curse that plagued Eldridge. As Emily approached, she felt an icy presence tugging at her, beckoning her to peer inside. With trembling hands, Emily looked into the well's depths and saw a reflection of the drowned villagers, their pale faces contorted in anguish. A chilling gust of wind sent her stumbling back, and she realized that the curse had claimed her too. Desperate to break the curse, Emily retraced Samuel's footsteps, seeking a way to appease the vengeful spirits. In a hidden cellar, she found an ancient book of rituals. With the rain pounding the earth outside, she began to chant the incantations, hoping to free the trapped souls. The ground shook violently, and the rain turned to a torrent. Emily's vision blurred as she saw the spirits rise from the well, their ghostly forms twisting in agony. It was then that she understood. The spirits sought not revenge but release. As the last words of the incantation left her lips, the rain ceased, and the spirits dissipated into the ether, their mournful cries finally silenced. Emily had broken the curse of Eldridge, but she knew she could never leave the village. She had become part of its tragic history, forever bound to the rain-soaked valley. The rain would continue to fall in Eldridge, and the village would remain trapped in a perpetual state of sorrow, waiting for the next curious soul to stumble upon its dark secret on a rainy day. Story 4. The Deluge of Desolation. In the heart of the Pacific Northwest, where the evergreen forests seemed to stretch into eternity, lay the town of Ravenswood. This picturesque town was known for its tranquil charm, but its residents harbored a chilling secret, the legend of the Deluge of Desolation. For generations, the townspeople spoke in hushed tones of a curse that plagued Ravenswood. It was said that on the rarest of rainy days, when the heavens wept incessantly, a malevolent entity known as the Rainmaker was awakened. And on this fateful day, one such storm was brewing. Alice, a fearless photographer with a penchant for the supernatural, arrived in Ravenswood on that ominous afternoon. She had heard whispers of the town's eerie history and had come to document its secrets. The rain had already begun to fall, and the air was heavy with anticipation as she checked into the creaky Ravenswood Inn. The innkeeper, an elderly man named Elias, gave Alice a solemn warning. "Miss, this is no ordinary rainy day," he said, his voice trembling. "The Rainmaker awakens today, and you would do well to stay indoors." Undeterred, Alice ventured into town with her camera, capturing the misty streets and rain-soaked landscapes. The locals were unusually somber, their eyes filled with dread as they hurried to their homes, clutching umbrellas tightly. As the storm raged on, Alice was drawn to the legend of the Rainmaker. She uncovered an ancient journal in the town's library, written by a man named Nathaniel, who had encountered the entity years ago. Nathaniel described the Rainmaker as a malevolent spirit that sought to drown the town in sorrow, its power growing with each drop of rain. Alice's curiosity got the better of her, and she set out to find the Rainmaker's rumored lair, an old, abandoned factory on the outskirts of town. The rain intensified as she approached the decaying building, and a sense of foreboding washed over her. Inside, she discovered an eerie chamber adorned with sinister symbols and ancient artifacts. At its center lay an ornate, rusted urn, said to contain the essence of the Rainmaker. Alice, driven by a strange compulsion, reached out to touch it, but the moment her fingers brushed the urn's surface, the rain outside turned into a deafening downpour. The factory seemed to come alive with malevolence. Shadows danced on the walls, and the very air seemed to throb with malignancy. The Rainmaker had been awakened, and Alice's fate was sealed. Desperate to escape, Alice fled the factory, but the rain pursued her relentlessly. As she ran through the streets of Ravenswood, she realized the curse of the Rainmaker was real. Buildings crumbled, and trees uprooted themselves, revealing grotesque, twisted faces in their bark. In a final act of desperation, Alice sought refuge in the town's ancient chapel. She watched in horror as the rainwater seeped through the roof, forming a grotesque figure that resembled the Rainmaker. Its eyes glowed with malevolence as it approached. With a burst of courage, Alice recited a prayer she had found in Nathaniel's journal, a plea for the rain to stop and the rainmaker to return to its slumber. The chapel shook as if in agony, but the rain outside gradually subsided, and the entity retreated, defeated. Ravenswood was saved, but Alice knew the price she had paid. She had glimpsed the darkness that lay hidden in the heart of the town and had become forever bound to its curse. As she looked out at the now clear skies, she understood that the deluge of desolation would forever haunt her, a chilling memory of a rainy day that had changed her life forever.